The year is 1764. The kingdom of France is bleeding. Wars have drained the treasury, and in the salons of Paris men whisper of the monarchy's decay. But hundreds of miles to the south, in a forgotten land of granite and heather known as Gévaudan, a terror is being born that has nothing to do with politics. Here, in the Margarita Mountains, where the wind never ceases and the fog swallows entire villages, something old is waking up, something ravenous. It began quietly, a murmur among the shepherds, strange shadows skirting the edge of the tree line. But on June 30th, the murmurs turned into screams. 14-year-old Jeanne Boulet was tending her flock near the village of Les Houbacs. She was a daughter of this harsh country, hardened to labor and the presence of wolves. But the thing that emerged from the forest gloom that day was no wolf. The beast ignored the bleeding sheep, its yellow eyes fixed only on her. The attack was lightning fast, brutal, unforgiving. When the villagers found the girl, little remained. Her throat had been torn out by a force that crushed bone like dry twigs. The priest entered a chilling note in the parish register. Buried without sacraments, victim of the ferocious beast. She was the first. And Gévaudan would soon learn that the beast was only just beginning its feast. Fear spilled through the valley like ice water. This was no ordinary predator. This was a punishment. When prayers failed, the army arrived. King Louis XV could not allow Europe to mock him over a mere animal. Into Gévaudan rode Captain Jean-Baptiste Duhamel and his elite dragoons. They brought muskets, uniforms, and the arrogance of Versailles. For Duhamel, this was just another military campaign. The enemy was to be encircled and destroyed. But Gévaudan was not a battlefield. It was a labyrinth. Duhamel ordered hunts on a scale never seen before. 10,000 peasants, often barefoot and starving, were forced to beat the freezing woods while the dragoons waited with fingers on triggers. The forest shook with the noise of drums and shouting. But the beast mocked them. While soldiers froze on one side of the valley, the beast killed on the other. It slipped through their lines like mist. Duhamel's desperation grew. At night, soldiers dressed in women's clothing, hoping to lure the monster that so favored young girls. But the creature was smarter than the king's army. When they finally cornered it at Château de la Baume and fired a volley of lead into its flank, the beast fell. The soldiers cheered. But then it stood up. It shook itself off, as if struck by nothing more than rain, and vanished into the dark. Among the people, a word began to be whispered, a word they feared to speak aloud. Loup-garou, werewolf. The army had failed. Enter the professionals, father and son Denneval, famous wolf hunters from Normandy. They came with cold calculation and a pack of hounds that could smell blood for miles. They believed they were hunting an animal, but the beast was hunting them. It toyed with them. When they were in the forest, it attacked the villages. When they guarded the villages, it slaughtered on the pastures. Humiliation gave way to rage. And then came François Antoine, the king's personal gun-bearer, a man sent not to hunt, but to end a scandal. In September 1765, a shot rang out near the Abbey of Chazes. Antoine stood over the body of a massive wolf. It was a giant, a monster of its kind. Paris rejoiced. The body was stuffed, displayed at Versailles, and Antoine was hailed as Saint George slaying the dragon. Officially, the terror was over. The newspapers proclaimed the victory of reason over superstition. But in Gévaudan, there was no celebration. The locals looked at the stuffed trophy and whispered, "That is not it." They were right. Winter came early, and with it, the fear returned. The snow turned red once more. The beast lived, but to the king, it no longer existed. Gévaudan was abandoned to its fate, trapped in a silence broken only by the screams of new victims. 1766 and 1767 were years of darkness. The world had forgotten Gévaudan, but death had not. The beast was still there. Smarter, crueler, a local nobleman, the Marquis d'Apchier, realized no one was coming to save them. He called for one last hunt. not for glory, but for survival. Among the hunters sat Jean Chastel, an outcast, a loner, a man of whom many whispered that he was closer to the beast than any man should be. He sat in the Tenazere forest, a Bible open on his lap, spectacles on his nose. Legend says his musket was loaded with silver, a bullet cast from a medallion of the Virgin Mary. That hell could only be fought with heaven. When the beast emerged from the ferns, time stopped. It did not run. It did not roar. It simply stood and looked at him, like a dog recognizing its master, or like a demon knowing its time had come. Chastel calmly finished his prayer, closed the book and raised his weapon. The shot sliced through the silence like thunder. The beast fell without a fight. When the others ran to it, they saw something that was neither wolf nor dog. It had a massive head, russet fur, and eyes that terrified even in death. Inside the monster's stomach, they found the remains of a small child. The nightmare was over, but a question hung in the air like the smoke from the gun. Why didn't the beast attack? Did it know its killer? The beast's body rotted before scientists could examine it. The king ordered it buried like garbage. The evidence vanished. Only the graves and the legends remained. What then terrorized Gévaudan? Was it a pack of man-eating wolves? An exotic hyena brought from Africa? Or the twisted experiment of the Chastel family? Today, Gévaudan, now Lozère, is a quiet, beautiful land. But when the fog descends and the wind hits the granite rocks of Margeride, the locals still feel a chill down their spines. The story of the beast is not just about an animal. It is a story about the fear that lives inside us, about how easily civilization collapses when faced with something it cannot explain. Whatever the beast was, we know one thing for certain. It was not killed by the army, nor the king, nor science. It was killed by a simple man who looked into the dark and did not flinch. And perhaps, just perhaps, the darkness recognized its creator.